Remember when Joanne Woodward and Paul Newman's marriage was painted as the ultimate Hollywood romance, but then their children put out a documentary that reminded us that not everything that glitters is gold? I do. It was 1953. I Love Lucy was one of the most popular shows on TV. Scientists at Cambridge discovered the structure of DNA. The original House of Wax premiered. Fahrenheit 451 was published. Queen Elizabeth had her coronation. And 28-year-old Paul Newman met 23-year-old Joanne Woodward while Paul was performing in Picnic on Broadway. It was Paul's Broadway debut and Joanne was an understudy. Or maybe they met at her agent's office the year prior. Who knows? I've read accounts of both. The two didn't hit it off immediately, though. Joanne wasn't initially taken by Paul, even though she said he looked like an ice cream ad on a hot summer's day. So the fact that he was married might have also had something to do with it. Paul married Jackie White in 1949. They had their first child, Scott, in 1950, and welcomed their second child, daughter Susan, the year that he met Joanne. And while Jackie and Paul would go on to have their third child in 1954, Stephanie, he would also go on to have an affair with Joanne. It didn't take long during their run of Picnic for Paul to convince Joanne that he should be her snack. Or in Paul's words, "It took me time to persuade her I wasn't as dull as I looked." Paul admitted that he was in pursuit of lust and that they left a trail of said lust all over the place, in hotels, public parks, and Hertz rent-a-cars. Always use those complimentary disinfecting wipes that they leave in the cup holders, okay? Paul had grown up insecure in his looks. He got by on being a silly little guy, but being with Joanne awoke the sexual creature inside of him. They carried on this way for 5 years, with Jackie finally granting Paul a divorce in 1958, leaving her with 3 kids under the age of 5. Jackie said that she was very angry and felt betrayed. To this day. Paul and Joanne were married in Las Vegas on January 29th of that year, landed massive contracts in Hollywood, and appeared in 2 films together, The Long Hot Summer and Rally Round the Flags, boys. Joanne also got her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. She was one of the original 8 honorees that established the iconic Hollywood landmark. On April 8th, 1959, they premiered their third collaboration, A Daughter Named Eleanor. They made 2 more films together, From the Terrace in 1960 and Paris Blues in 1961. Their second daughter, Melissa, arrived on September 27, 1961, the same day that Paris Blues premiered in the US. In 1963, they appeared in A New Kind of Love together and cemented their love in front of Grauman's Theater in Hollywood. 2 years later, they welcomed their third daughter, Claire. In 1969, Paul directed Joanne in the film Rachel, Rachel, and both received Oscar nominations for the roles. Their daughter Eleanor, known as Nell, appeared in the film as a younger version of her mother. The pair continued making movies together and raising their family in Connecticut, which included Paul's 3 children from his previous marriage. In 1978, the family was struck by tragedy when Paul's son, Scott, passed away from an accidental drug overdose. Paul established the Scott Newman Center in his son's memory to help educate people on issues pertaining to drug and alcohol use. It unfortunately shut down in 2013 due to a lack of funding. 10 years later, the family established the Hole in the Wall Gang Camp in Connecticut, a nonprofit camp where children with serious illnesses and their families could experience the joy and support of a camp community. In 2005, Joanne and Paul appeared in their last project together, Empire Falls, which Paul executive produced. And on January 29, 2008, the couple celebrated 50 years of marriage. Paul was supposed to make his stage directing debut later that year for the Westport County Playhouse's production of Mice and Men, but had to bow out due to health concerns that May. A month later, it was widely reported that he had been diagnosed with lung cancer, which was neither confirmed nor denied. But then, on September 26, 2008, it was announced that Paul had passed away at his home in Westport. He was 83 years old. Their philanthropic work continued on, though, with their other nonprofit, Serious Fun, combining with their camp, creating Serious Fun Children's Network. At that point, they had 30 camps. Claire, said that her father just felt like these children were missing out on their childhood, and he wanted to give them a place to feel included and not feel isolated because of their illness. And while all of this painted a picture of the Newmans as one of Hollywood's golden couples, the documentary that their kids had Ethan Hawke direct about their parents' relationship burned that image to the ground. In 2022, The Last Movie Stars premiered. It was a docuseries that followed Paul and Joanne's love story. We don't have it in Canada, though, unfortunately. And what we learned was that Paul was a functioning alcoholic who would drink to the point of passing out even on Christmas Eve, but never displayed his dependence in daily life. He would dip his face into a sink full of ice water to dull the effects, which reminds me of Sonia from Real Housewives dipping her face into the bidet full of ice water. Do you remember that one? Paul said that his frustrations with life often overwhelmed him and he would drink to help him cope. Joanne knew about his alcoholism before they were even married and endured for a while, but did eventually pack up the kids and leave. Paul slept in his car in the driveway of the house she was staying at until they came to an agreement. He would give up the hard stuff and would stick to beer. Although beer at breakfast doesn't seem like that big of a compromise. Paul also had a reputation for his devout faithfulness to his wife. When asked about his fidelity, Paul famously replied, "Why go out for a hamburger when you have a steak at home?" But it turned out that Paul had an 18-month-long affair with a young journalist named Nancy Bacon. Paul and Joanne took out a half-page advert in the LA Times to mock the rumors regarding Paul's affair, only for Nancy to confirm them. She called it the worst-kept secret in Hollywood. Her friends would joke, "Paul may not go out for hamburger, but he sure goes out for bacon." But why did Joanne stay? Well, she was not free of her faults either, no one is, but she also believed that she was reaping what she had sown. I mean, their marriage was a byproduct of his philandering ways after all. And she figured it was a long time coming. But reflecting on their childhoods, his kids said that Paul was a goofball. He had a silly sense of humor, which also made him a wonderful grandfather. And on top of the work that he did for kids, his Newman's Own food brand has raised well over $500 million for charity since its inception in 1982. People really do contain multitudes. As for Joanne, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 2007 and has since retreated from the limelight. February 27th will mark her 95th birthday. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you liked this one. If you did and you'd like to support the cult, please save and share this video. It does really help. And don't forget to follow me on the gram and the tube just in case. And of course, there's stickers if you want to show people that you love the cult. There's a bookmark, there's pins. There's even one that says "My cult leader loves me," which is fitting for Valentine's Day. Good day, and may the cult be with you.